Ab Urbe Condita, from the founding of the city, written by Titus Livius, aka Livy. There is a king named Proca. He had two sons named Numitor and Amulius. Proca gave Numitor the old kingdom of the Sylvan race because he was the oldest. But Amulius soon beat Numitor and began to kill all the men in the family. Amulius made the daughter Rhea Silvia a vestal virgin so she couldn't have any children, but oops, she got pregnant. She said that the god Mars was the father. She gave birth to twin boys, but she was soon imprisoned and the boys were sent to be put in the river. The king's helper left the kingdom to put the babies into the Tiber River. He accidentally left the babies by the dry land. A she-wolf came out of the mountains and saw the two crying baby boys. She offered them her breasts and began to lick them. A shepherd named Faustulus came upon the she-wolf licking the boys. He decided to take the boys home to his wife. He thought that they had been given to him and his wife for education. The boys were given the names Romulus and Remus. When Romulus and Remus were young men, they were the heroes of their city. Later, Numitor became the king of Alba Longa. Romulus and Remus wanted to have their own city because the city that they lived in was becoming overpopulated with Latins and Albans. There is a prophecy about the twins. The prophecy stated that whoever saw the most vultures had the greatest power. Romulus ended up seeing double the amount of vultures that Remus did. Romulus became the king of his new city. Romulus got the Palatine Hill and Remus got the Aventine Hill. Romulus built a wall around his city. Remus started mocking him and jumped over the wall. Romulus got very angry and the two brothers started fighting. Romulus ended up killing Remus. The city was named after its founder, Romulus. This city was called Rome. There are triplet brothers in the two armies of the Horatii and the Curatii. There is confusion of which city is the Horatii and which is the Curiatii. Livy thought that Rome was the Horatii and Alba Longa was the Curiatii. The kings decided that the triplets should fight each other. If a nation won the fight, then they would take control of the other in peace and harmony. Both armies were on their sides of the camps, waiting to fight. A signal was given, and the triplets ran out to fight each other. They were fighting with swords and shields. Two of the Romans had died, and all of the Albans were wounded. The Roman that survived wanted a second fight, and in that fight he killed two of the Albans. He easily killed the last Alban because the last Alban was tired. He killed him so that Rome could control Alba Longa. Alba Longa accepted defeat and became a part of Roman control. There is a man named Brutus. He was urging a huge crowd to get rid of the king and exile Lucius Tarquinius. Brutus left the city of Ardina to get the army against the king. A man named Lucretio was left in charge of the city. Lucius Tarquinius went to Rome to try and stop the revolt, but when he had arrived, the gates of the city had been closed on him and became an exile of the city. He had reigned for 25 years. After Tarquinius was exiled, two consuls were elected according to the regulations of King Servius Tullius. The two consuls were Lucius Iunius Brutus and Lucius Tarquinius Collatinus. Brutus told Lucius Tarquinius Collatinus that the people didn't think that they could have a republic unless all the Tarquins were gone, so Collatinus had to leave. Brutus elected Publius Valerius. Publius Valerius had been a colleague to Brutus. The Tarquins sent to Lars Porsena, the king of Clusium. He was an Etruscan. Porsena didn't want the Tarquins in exile, so he gathered an army and headed to Rome because he thought it was important. There was a bridge that the Etruscans had to cross to get into Rome, but there was one man named Horatius Cocles. He saw that the Janiculum Hill had been captured, and all of the Roman soldiers had run away, so he stayed. He didn't want Rome to be overwhelmed by Etruscans. Horatius managed to keep two men with him. Their names were Spurius Larsius and Titus Herminius. Horatius ordered them to tear down the bridge while the enemy was attacking. He fought the enemy back to protect Rome. Horatius prayed to the god of the Tiber River, and then jumped in. Just as he jumped in, the bridge collapsed. He swam to the shore uninjured. The people of Rome were very thankful. They gave Horatius Cocles as much land as he could plow. Porsena's first attack had failed. Porsena stationed his army by the Tiber and set up camp there. He summoned ships everywhere, not just for protection, but also to stop Rome from getting any food. For a short time, Porsena returned the districts of Rome hostile. Porsena hoped to plunder the city of Rome. Mucius Scaevola, a Roman, decided that he had to do something to stop Lars Porsena and the Etruscans. First, he wanted to get into the enemy's camp. but he feared the fact that the Roman Senate would consider him as a deserter and put him in jail. He decided to go to the Senate and ask for permission. He asked the Senate if he could go across the Tiber River into the enemy's camp. They approved. Mucius hid the sword inside of his clothing. When he arrived, he stood in a huge crowd. He saw Porsena and his secretary. He couldn't tell which person was Porsena because the two people were wearing the same thing. He didn't want to ask anyone because they would know that he wasn't from there. He had to guess, so he stabbed the man who he thought was the king. Wrong person, he actually stabbed the secretary. Mucius ran to the crowd but was caught and taken to the king. Porsena was very angry and terrified. He ordered for fires to be made and put around him. Mucius stuck his right hand into the fire, devoid of sensation, to show how his body wasn't worthless. The king was amazed by this and then ordered for the man to be moved from the altar. The king decided to release him because Mucius was so brave. He wished Mucius was on his side. Mucius told the king that there was a long list of men after him. Mucius was chosen to go first. Then Porsena sent him back to Rome. Porsena didn't want to live in constant fear of being killed by a Roman, so he signed a peace treaty with Rome, and they lived happily ever after. The end.